So back to our scenario, I realize I need a Bluetooth speaker. People are coming over tonight. What do I do next? Well, the next step in the consumer decision model is search. And what do we search for? We search for solutions to our problem. Because that might include buying a Bluetooth speaker, borrowing a Bluetooth speaker, finding some other way to play music if my friend has a turntable and amplifiers and speakers, but I'm searching for solutions to the problem. And in this model, it says when I'm searching, I'm developing a consideration set. And so what does that mean? A consideration set is a set of potential brands or options that could solve the problem. I'm not going to evaluate them, really closely right now. I'm going to do that later. But I'm going to, out of all the options available to me, I'm going to pick a few that make sense and so forth. And so, an example might be a beauty contest, right? The judges look at all the entrants, all right, and then they pick out semifinalists. That's a consideration set. When you started your search for colleges, you looked at a whole bunch of different colleges, even if it was just in a book, all right? And then at some point you narrowed it down to, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, a consideration set that then you would go visit and do other things with. That's the idea. So if you notice in this model, everything is very linear. One thing happens to another, right? So it's foot bone connected to the ankle bone, to the shin bone, to the knee bone, to the thigh bone, to the hip, and so forth. It doesn't mean it really happens like that in real life, and people move around and skip around. But for in terms of understanding, search happens at some point, and that's really the main point. Okay, so where's the first place we search? Well, I need the Bluetooth speaker, right away, so I can't do Amazon. So, luckily there's a Best Buy not too far away. So perhaps I go out and buy it there. But no, normally that's not what happens. So the first place we search is our memory. And we call that internal search. We're searching for acceptable solutions we already know about. If we can't find one, or there aren't enough acceptable solutions to put in to fill out our consideration set, then we do external search. We ask our friends. We go on the internet. We look around for other options. So why is this distinction between internal search and external search important? Well, just think about it. If I was to say to everybody in the class, hey, let's go out for lunch, I'll pay for it, but we got to go in the next half hour, where do you want to go for lunch? What would you do? Oh, you just think and go, oh, let's go to, and you name a bunch of different places. You get it from your memory. When you think about it, many of the retailers or websites we go to and the brands we buy, we do it off of our memory. All right? Now, if I said, hey, we're going to go out to a fancy meal because we have to meet the president, there's going to be people from the local paper and Mass Live and other people from the board of trustees. So we need to find a fancy restaurant. Some of you might know of a few, but most of us would be, okay, let's go on Yelp. Let's figure out a way to do that. That's external search, right? And it's important to know the difference, and also to realize that, hey, if you aren't available, if people don't think of you or can't find you on search, they're never going to buy you. This is the first thing that has to happen for you to, be potentially the winner in the end. And just think about this, right? If somebody was to come up to you while you're, at AIC, walking on the street, maybe going across the State Street, and somebody came up nicely to you and said, hey, where's the closest fast food restaurant? My kids are really hungry. You'd probably go, okay, where's the McDonald's? And then you think, All right. Well, why did you come up with McDonald's? Right? Because you've been to them. You've seen all their advertising. All right. They're all over the place. You see their distinctive colors, the golden arches, and all of that stuff. So, the ability to create a strong image, a brand, image in people's mind and memory is a really powerful marketing tool. All right. So we're searching. All right. So, what influences how much we search? All right. Well, the first one is involvement. And involvement really just means it's how important or relevant is it to you or the situation, right? We all have things that are important to us, right? So if you like to play video games, if you play a sport, if you have other activities, you kind of pay attention to things that are happening, with regard to those things. Some stuff isn't important to you, but if your washing machine breaks down, all of a sudden that's pretty important, all right? So you have involvement. It's just situational. But involvement is just the idea, hey, it's relatively important. Low involvement, not important. I really don't care. All right? And then involvement is usually associated with or derived from risk, perceived risk. And perceived means, hey, it's not the same for everybody. And that's why that guy's jumping off the bungee cord. There. And there are really four sources, I should say, of risk. One is functional. So if I'm buying a car, right, I want to make sure it does what it's supposed to do. So if I'm thinking about, I'm going to save some money, I'll buy a used car off Carvana or, from this guy I know, and I might think, well, gee, is it really going to work? Okay, is it going to run well or is it going to break down a lot? Am I not going to have problems getting to work? I don't want to lose my job. So those would be a functional risk. Safety, right? I want to buy a car, right? Subaru has done a great job selling vehicles because their cars are seen as being really safe. So parents can buy them for their teenagers. All right, so, if tire manufacturers. Hey, if we're riding around on a pair of bald tires and you have a family in there and little kids and you get in an accident because you've been a cheapskate and they get hurt, how are you going to feel? So Michelin and other companies have done a good job marketing safety for the tires. Financial. It's a lot of money. Is it really worth it? Right? That relates directly to value. Can I afford it, right? And we know that cars and trucks, as soon as you drive it off the lot, the value is depreciating. And then social, right? What do my friends think? All right? Are they going to make fun of me because I bought a little commuter car? Okay, are they gonna? If I bought a big truck and gets terrible gas mileage, are they gonna, tell me that I shouldn't have bought something in such a gas guzzler? It's gonna hurt the environment. So those are the sources kind of where risk comes from. So the higher the risk, usually the more involvement, right? The more it's just personally important to us or relevant because it's something we like, or situationally we have to deal with it. The more we're going to search. Another factor is how much we know, right? Product knowledge, experience, perceived expertise. And so normally we think, so the more we know, we don't search as much. I already know a lot about laptops, what I'm going to get, or computers, or my phone, or cars, or, where I'm going to go to buy, electronics. I already know all that stuff, so I'm not going to search that much. How about people who don't know very much, all right? You would think that they would search a lot, all right? But I'm going to give you a kind of contrived example. Let's say there was a new technological thing out and you wanted it for your birthday and your parents are willing to get it for you, even though it's pretty expensive. And you say, hey, I just want one of those, get it, right? And there's multiple brands and because there's always new competition. So there's 3 or 4 different models. They do slightly different things and have different features, but you don't tell your parents that at all. You just say, I want one of those things. And they don't know anything about one of those things, right? And they're not even sure what it is or what it does. Are they going to search a lot? Are they going to go on the internet and try to read about what this product is, how it got developed, what are the most important features, try to ascertain its value? Probably not. Most people don't. What do? right? It's not they don't care. They search the least because they use surrogates, other sources. All right, hey, it's a brand name, it's Apple or Samsung. I'm going to go with that. All right, it's Apple and Samsung. I know it's overpriced. I'm going with something else. All right, rating and reviews. Okay, ask AI. They'll go to a store and talk to salespeople and trust them and believe them. Ask a friend who's already bought one for one of their kids and so forth. So people who don't know very much, especially nowadays with social media and the internet, they use other sources. So it's important for marketers to earn good reviews, right, on social media and on websites that review products. And so how about people in the middle? People in the middle search the most because they have enough knowledge, so they understand the product enough, so additional knowledge, they know how to use it and understand it to help them decide what's the best thing for them to get. All right, still in search. When do we stop searching? Right? Because if we're looking for something different or a better price, we can always just sit there and Google it. And an hour later, 2 hours, use a different search engine, use AI instead of Google to try to search for stuff. Think about it. You probably considered a whole bunch of different, had a big group of colleges to weed through, and then you narrowed it down, okay? But when did you stop searching? Because there's a lot of colleges, right? Normally we stop when the cost of searching is greater than the cost of the benefits. In other words, if we're still searching and we don't feel like we're going to find anything really better, there's not a better sale, there's not a better one of these are the ones that are out there, we're unlikely to keep searching. So there are costs to search, right? So how much time it takes just to do that, right? So it's easy to ask AI, right? It's easy to just go on Amazon, and whether you buy it Amazon or not, but just look at the reviews for a product on Amazon and say, okay, it's a 4.2, that's not high enough. It takes money, right? We spend money, right? If we were buying a car or furniture or a mattress, we're going to go to these stores. Even the Bluetooth speaker, I might go to the store to listen to it, so that I have to pay with gas and etc. Right? And on top of that, it's effort, right? And then there's the opportunity cost. So let's say your washing machine breaks, right? And you want to get a good washing machine and everything, but you know that every day it takes you to keep searching. You got to go to the laundromat, all right? So you've lost the opportunity to save time and money by buying a washing machine. So there's opportunity costs. So yeah, searching isn't free. Even with the internet, it isn't free. All right. So again, to put it, to sum it up, when we feel we're not going to find something better, we stop.